Hi everybody, my name is Sydia Simmons. I am the owner and founder of Los Angeles Society. To whom much is given, much is required. And I am here today to tell somebody else if I made it, so can you.
I ain't that shit.
It's about self-empowerment. It's about self-awareness. It's about self-respect.
Hey everyone, it's Rae-Shan and welcome to another episode of I Ain't That Chick. I do have another great guest with me today. You guys, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi everybody, I am Sydia Simmons and I am the owner and founder of Los Angeles Society.
So Sydia, in your intro, you mentioned homelessness. And when I say the words home sweet home, what does that conjure up for you?
Home sweet home conjures up the fact and the thoughts, a lot of thoughts go through my mind. But when it comes to homelessness and that term or that slogan, pillow to post comes to me. Because you can't have a home sweet home if you live in pillow to post. Meaning you're just moving. You don't have stability. You're not grounded in one location. And for me, the term home sweet home, I think I didn't find out until I was 24. So that's when I first got my own apartment where we actually are living here, sitting now. So when I think of home sweet home, it's somewhere where you're stable and somewhere where you feel love and you're wanted and there's no confusion and there's peace and you can sleep at night without being awakened by noise and different things that's going on in your surroundings.
Okay, you said you feel wanted.
Right.
There's peace.
Right.
Take me back. Childhood, growing up at home, mom and dad there, happy family, brothers and sisters, were you guys all together?
Well, I'm actually the oldest of 7.
Okay.
The oldest girl, the oldest child, period.
The responsible
The
one.
responsible one. The second mom.
Yes, yes.
So when I go back to growing up in my childhood years, I had that home sweet home until I was 16. Okay. 16 is when life just took a turn for the worse. Now, before 16, we had trouble, we had issues. My mother was an alcoholic, still alcoholic, but I was 8 years old when I became to know what was going on. And I remember getting up at nighttime and she would be in the bathtub or in the bathroom. She had fallen, couldn't get up, and I would be the oldest and my dad would be at work, so I would have to get up, try to pull out the bathtub or try to wake her up. But in the circumference of that block, if you looked at my house, you would thought
everything was good. Everything was good.
Right, and it was peace. So that little bit of peace that we had there was snatched away because we now had to move from a house where I felt like we were in a bubble that nobody knew because we lived in a neighborhood where we were like everyone was family. So we had to pick up and move, and I was 16. I was turning 16.
And 16 is that pivotal time where things change for most girls. You know, it's either, okay, I'm growing up, I'm into womanhood.
Absolutely.
But in your situation, it kind of things took a turn for the worse.
My thing was, I'm trying to find out where I'm going to live. So at 16...
You're an adult at 16.
Right.
You were an adult before then, really?
Technically, yes. So at 16, my birthday present was the breakup of my parents after 27 years. They were together 27 years to the date of when I turned 16.
On your birthday?
On my birthday.
On your birthday?
On my birthday. So we moved from Linden Place in Roosevelt to East Raymond. And when we moved to East Raymond, my peace was then taken.
Now, did you move with just your mom or was it just your dad?
It was my entire family. My mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters, and I. When we moved, I think it was my father. He felt like we were old enough. The oldest was 16, so we were old enough to understand, daddy's leaving because he can no longer take mommy being an alcoholic, and I needed to go.
If daddy couldn't take it, how did he think that you guys were supposed to take it?
Right. And I always questioned and said, well, why did he leave? Right. But I came to the realization that he left because if he wasn't there was no arguing. There would be no fighting. It would give some type of peace in the household without him being there. He left, but he didn't stay going. Like, he would come every day, make sure we were okay, but he couldn't stay in the fact of my mother drinking because when I got old enough to understand, he had told me and my brothers and sisters that my mom had been drinking her entire life.
Really?
Since she was 18. She's always...
So there was no... But what was the reason? Because I feel like there's always
a reason.
Yeah.
There was never a time where I could get to the root of what was the reason. But my mom comes from a family who drinks.
Alcoholics, okay.
That's all they do. That's all they know. Okay. That's where they come from. Not everybody drinks, but the bulk of the family drinks. Okay. Her parents was drinking and drugging.
That's her norm.
That's her norm. So it was a sickness, and she wasn't willing to get help. My father tried to help her, tried to take her to get help. She didn't want it. So he couldn't take it. For his sanity and for his peace, he left.
So do you feel like Dad left you?
No.
No, okay.
I never felt like he left. I never felt like he left us because he was still tangible. Okay. I was still able to call him. I knew exactly where he was, or if we needed anything, he was there. Okay. He was still the protector and the provider, not being in the house. And the breakup when he left is when my mother did a 360 for the worse. A 360 normally means you're going to turn it around opposite and go opposite of what you're doing. Right. But she did it all the way.
Really? So that she didn't straighten up, oh, my husband is gone,
no.
Let me, no. So you think, was she hurt? She was hurt? I think
so. I think so. My father was her first everything. So, you know, the things that were going on in the house weren't suitable for children, children who have to get up to go to school. If I'm 16, my younger sibling, she had to be 1, 2, because we're all stepdaughters. So there was music playing, there was in and out, there was smoking, there was drinking, and I know where I come from. I know what the norm for us was before this situation. So I would get up and I would unplug it. I would pour the beer out. I would throw the cigarettes in the trash. I would say, shut up, we gotta go to sleep, y'all can go outside. My mother just was like, if you don't like what I'm doing, if you don't like how I'm living, if you don't like who I'm dating, you can pack your stuff and get out. So my brothers and sisters, they weren't getting up from school because my mother was too drunk from the night before, she wouldn't even wake up. So I would have to get up to take them to school, or if I couldn't take them to school, they weren't going to school.
And what was your dad saying about all of this?
Because I know my father, he didn't know. I kept it. Like, I kept it as quiet as possible. Because my father probably would be in jail.
He would have killed him. He would have hurt him.
He would have hurt him.
Okay.
He would have hurt him. Absolutely hurt him.
And how long did this go on for?
It went on for probably about 2 months till I was out.
Till you were out?
I was out.
Take me back to being out. How are you at 16 and you're out?
Oh,
because you're not grown at 16. How are you out at 16? And then leave your siblings here?
Yeah. Oh. So I think that was the time I felt like I had grown up. I was an adult. I felt like now I'm grown.
At 16. Now I'm grown. Because, you know, a lot of us, we feel like we're grown at 16. But you really.
But I didn't want to be. Okay. I wanted to be a child. I wanted to jump double.
You didn't have that time.
No.
You didn't have that chance.
I didn't have that. Not at 16. No. So I remember the day, like it was yesterday. It was tight cold outside. I went to school. I came back home from school, and the doors was locked. And I was just banging on the door. It's cold outside. Banging on the door. And my mother boyfriend peeks his head out the window. He said, "You don't live here no more." And I said, "Where's my mother?" He said, "She's in here, but you don't live here no more." And I remember I wasn't scared. I was nothing. I just felt like, all right, no problem. Time for me to go.
You was tired.
I was tired, frustrated. I was ready to just, if I probably had a gun, I would have killed him. So I was ready to go. Because I was angry.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was confused. Because I said, wait, I'm your daughter. I've been your daughter for 16 years. Yeah. You didn't adopt me. Nobody dropped me at your doorstep. You carried me.
And you chose him over
me. And you chose him over me.
Did you confront her?
I couldn't say nothing to her. I wasn't allowed in the house. That
boggles my mind. And I know it happens, but 16, like, and what did you do?
At 16, when that happened, my mind just started going millions of places. I moved right across the street from my mother.
By yourself?
No, with a friend of the family's.
Okay.
I moved right across the street from her.
Thank God for that family that took you in.
Right. I stayed there for a while. I didn't like what was going on in there. It was the same thing. I then moved again. I moved 21 times from 16 to 21 years old.
Say that again?
21 times from 16 years old to 21 years old. I moved 21 times.
Why did you go stay with your dad?
I couldn't stay with so there was a period my dad was sleeping in the car. And he was sleeping in the car at the corner of our block. We didn't know.
To protect you?
To make sure we were okay. But for some reason, even him being at the corner of my block, God made sure he didn't see what was going on in the house. Because he would be in jail.
Wow. But did he have a place or no? He was just...
He eventually... So life always just comes back around. So he eventually went to stay back at the house that we moved out of, where my piece was. My grandfather had moved into that house and was renting the house out. And my dad went to go stay back with his dad, whom he hadn't lived with since he was 16.
Right.
And it was a bunch of people. It was just a house full of men. Like, it was a room. So my dad was like, you know, like, I can't have you stay here. Yeah. You know, like, what are you going to do when I'm at work? I don't want you in here.
It's not safe.
It's not safe. So I was like, it's okay, Dad. But that was more towards the middle. Like, the beginning, he didn't know. Because I was going to school every day. I was passing my grades. I was just.
So give me some for that, because a lot of 16-year-olds just might fall apart.
Right.
I don't know what I would have done had I been.
I almost did. I tried suicide. I thought about going to the top of the building and jumping. I thought about, like, let me just swallow these pills. And I remember there was a time I tried, and it didn't work. Like, I couldn't even swallow.
Purpose.
Right.
Yeah, purpose. Purpose and a plan for you.
Yeah, purpose. I couldn't even swallow. Like, there was no saliva. I couldn't swallow.
Thank God.
And at that time I tried. I was living at my godmother's house, who became my godmother from my church. Now, I've been in the same church. This is why I say God always favors me. The same church that I was in since I was in 3rd grade is still the church that I'm in now.
Wow.
The pastor and the first lady was my 3rd grade teacher. My pastor's wife was my 3rd grade teacher. I ended up staying with them along the line. And then, like, that was my last day before I just was like, I'm leaving New York. I'm not taking this. I can't move again. I can't take another. Pack your stuff. You can't stay here. I don't have room for you, and go. Because everywhere I went to, that's what it was.
People would tell you, okay, you got to get out.
Your parents can't give me any money. Your mom doesn't want to give me money. Your mom doesn't want to give me food. She doesn't want to help do this. You got to go.
Oh, so they were not that they were trying to make money off you, but they needed help.
Right, absolutely.
Oh, wow. And how does that feel when you know, you kind of maybe, I don't know if you got a little comfortable, and then somebody tells you, you know what, don't get too comfortable. You got to go again.
But the amazing part was that I never got comfortable anywhere, because in my mind, it was always, if my mother could put me out, I know tomorrow, whatever.
Right.
The scariest parts was where I was going to go, or what I was going to eat. Because there was times where I didn't eat anything. Going to high school, I remember having a certain amount of bras, a certain amount of panties, and I would have to wash them out every night.
How did you get lunch or lunch money? How did you get clothing? How did you get panties and bras? How did you...
So depending on who I was staying with, like my aunt Suzette, she won't mind me using her name. She took care of me. That's my dad's sister. Her residence was the where I lived the longest. Okay. Because she just was like, all you gonna do is get up and go to school. So she took care of me.
You're gonna be a kid.
You're gonna be a kid.
You're gonna be a kid.
And she made sure I was a kid. She said, you can't go outside unless you take your cousins with you, because I know you're not do nothing with them with you. So take them with you. So I accumulated stuff. I started working a summer youth job where I was working with mentally disabled young adults and adults. And I started buying stuff. I was working at No String Rack. I was accumulating my own money, so I would buy stuff.
Independence. You were getting some independence.
I had to, because
how did that feel?
It felt amazing, because with me gaining my own independence, I was able to go back and make sure my brothers and sisters had things that they needed. I wasn't allowed to go in the house, but I would make sure. No.
Wait a minute. So they wouldn't let you walk in the front door?
No. Not my mother and her boyfriend. No, absolutely not. Now my brothers and sisters, they would sneak me. I would go through the back door, use the bathroom.
But your mother,
because she, at the end, it came out that she thought that I wanted her boyfriend, and it was just like,
really,
that was far from my mind.
Really,
you know, I was scared of. There was a time where I remember My room was off the kitchen, off the living room, and there was no door on my room. And before my dad and mom had split up, he was supposed to put a door there because it was supposed to be my room. Because I was the oldest, I needed my own room. And he never got a chance to put that door, so there was a sheet. And I remember getting out the shower, going into my room, and seeing a shadow, and it was my mother's boyfriend, standing on the opposite side of the curtain. So all these things that she took into, oh, no, this is you being spiteful, this is what you want to do, but at the end of the day, no, I was being a kid.
But mom should have put him out. And then mom.
Never told
But she wasn't capable, for whatever reason, or she chose not to.
Absolutely.
For whatever reason.
Absolutely.
Now, did the boyfriend ever make any advances towards you?
No. He just was standing, to me that was enough. He was standing in front of the curtain. And I didn't trust him. I didn't know you. I went from being with my dad all my life to 1 month in my house. I don't know you. You're a stranger. So like gathering stuff, moving from pillar to post, I accumulated stuff. I borrowed stuff from people. Let me wear a pair of jeans. Let me do this.
Friends in high school.
I ate with the teachers.
Okay.
Because there was a program called STAR program when we grew up in Roseville High School, and you went there to do homework. They were just like huge mentors.
God provided.
He provided. He just made a way.
Yeah, always.
He made a way, and I never went hungry without eating, but I went limited eating. I never had to resort to prostitution, drugs, nothing. And I remember when I met my daughter's father and got pregnant, I was scared. I went to the abortion clinic, and I was like, I'm not having no baby. I don't know how to be a mother. Right. And for some reason, the lady kept running my insurance, and she's like, your insurance is cut off. And at the time, I had Medicaid, and I said, there's no way. I just came from the doctor the day before.
Right.
It was cut off. No, it was cut off. So I said, you know what? I called my dad and my aunt. My aunt said, what you gonna do? And I was like, I'm scared. And I remember crying, and I was like, I can't be a mom. I still cry when I tell her. I was like, I can't be a mom. I don't know how to be a mom. What the heck am I going to do? And I remember like there becoming a peace. Like God just sent a peace. And it was like, you're not her.
That's right.
You're not her. So you can do this.
You got it.
And stability came 5 years ago when I moved here. That was the first time from 16 up until 5 years ago was the first time I had a Christmas.
And how old were you then?
I was,
21?
No, 24.
24 years old. You get your first apartment. How did you find the apartment? How did all that happen?
Oh, okay. So I went through the shelter and I stayed not even a month. Because I was like, I'm not keeping my daughter here. I gotta go. Yeah. And because I got tired of moving from pillar to post with people. The last stop before the shelter was my ex-husband's mother's house.
Okay. And you're still working even while you're in the shelter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going from 125th Street all the way to Crown Heights, Brooklyn, 4 o'clock in the morning with my daughter on the stroller, traveling. Then they come back up to 125th Street to go to work.
Wow.
So,
girl, woo.
I had to do it. It wasn't even about me. I just was like, I got to do it for my daughter.
Yeah.
Climbing 6 places.
It kept you alive.
Yes, it did.
It kept you alive.
It did. It did. It kept me alive, and it kept me saying, you know, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for her. So I had to travel. I had to do it. And I said, I'm going to go into the shelter. And now the entire time I've been homeless, from 16 to 21, I've never went to a shelter. I was just fearful, like, I'm not going to a shelter because all the bad stories I hear.
Exactly. Was it a bad situation?
Well, this one wasn't. The only bad thing was that I had to climb 6 flights of steps every day. I was in the facility with a bunch of women I did not know. Women that were old enough to be my mother, who were just like comfortable in their situation. And I was like, I can't stay here. So I traveled for 1 month and 2 days before I got this apartment. And I remember getting a call. And it was like, we saw your name, like we saw you apply for an apartment, and we want to know if you want to come view it. Heck yeah, I'm coming.
I'll be there today.
Right.
So this is the same apartment that you walked into 5 years ago. What did it feel like when you got the key and you turned the key in the lock?
First of all, when I dropped my daughter off, the morning I dropped her off, my aunt handed me mail. Because I would drop her off to my aunt and my dad. She handed me mail, and she said, you have mail now. Walking through the streets, 4:45 in the morning, and I opened up the letter, and it was like, you are qualified and been chosen for this apartment. I remember standing on the corner, and I said, God, I don't know what you're doing or why you did it, but I know it was all for my good. It wasn't good to me, but it was good for me. And I just read the letter and I immediately called my aunt and I said, I gotta go for an apartment. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And she was like, well, put the letter away and then, you know, follow whatever you need to follow. I got to work that morning and I said, I got a letter from you guys. What am I supposed to do? She said, get all your paperwork together. Get your first month rent, first month security. Get it together. I did that. When I walked, I remember getting off the train, on the A train, and I walked the opposite way. And I had got lost. And then I said, excuse me, do you know what 509 is? And I ended up turning this way. The young lady met me in front of the door and she was like, are you Sydia Limehouse? That was my name at the beginning, at the time. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, let me show you the apartment. And I said, you don't have to show me, just give me the key.
This is the most beautiful thing you had ever seen. It hadn't even been in yet.
I hadn't been in. Wow. And she said, we showed this apartment to 10 people and nobody else wanted it. I said, because it was mine.
Yeah.
It wasn't for nobody else. And she said nobody else wanted it. They thought it was small. And I was like, smallest thing is humongous. And that day I felt like, you know how people go get baptized and they say they're being reborn again? I felt like that day I started life. Like life started for me.
For you.
That day. And I came in this place.
That was your birthday.
That was my birthday.
Yeah.
And I slept on the floor with my daughter for 6 months on an air mattress. It was myself, my daughter, and my dad and my aunt slept here with me because I was new in the neighborhood and I didn't know. My dad cleaned this place. I had gone to work. I had even gotten another job and was working overnight because I said I needed to furnish that place, but I wasn't in a rush. I just would come home. There was no curtains on the windows and there was nothing. And I just would like lay in the bed and cry. And I said, God, you did not forget. You didn't forget about me. All the times when I was running the streets, you didn't forget.
And all the people.
And all the people that left me.
Yes. And all the people that God has to see about on a daily basis.
You didn't
forget
about me.
And all the while working this out, working it out, getting the other people out.
Yeah.
So he could get you
So he could get me in. And I remember, and my dad was like, he calls me Monique when he's serious. He said, Monique, you got your own apartment. And I said, I know. I said I can have a Christmas. I hadn't had a Christmas since I was 16. I put up the biggest Christmas tree. I had my daughter's gifts packed under the Christmas tree. And I just was like, if you do nothing else for me, you've done enough.
You've done enough.
I can open my own refrigerator. I can cook my own food. You've done enough. But it all came 360 because I said, God, if you ever got me to the place where I was no longer homeless, I would go back. And I would reach for every homeless youth. I wouldn't care if I had to die doing it. It would be my reasonable service because you did it for me. And that's when Los Angeles Society came about because I would sit at a long glass table and I used to sit at the table and I would write down my vision, I would rip it up. And I would write down a name and I would rip it up. And I said, God, give me a name. I started with Exit. It's like, no. I said, give me a name. And then I was sitting at work at a table, and he said, Lost Angels. And I said, that's it, Lost Angel Society. And when I did my first gala, it was the first time that I had ever told my story. Now, I got married 2011. I was with my ex-husband for years. He knew that I went through stuff in life, but he didn't know in depth the story because I've always been ashamed. And I said, I'm never going to tell it. I'm never going to. Because I said, if you're going to start an organization for homeless youth, you need to tell us why. You know, you cannot keep it sheltered because it's not for you. It's for somebody else.
That's right. Always.
So there was 80 people in the room. I went to work. I saved money. I emptied out my savings account. I took donations because I needed to do this gala. Right. And for some reason, God always looks out for me, even when I fail. He made it so I had not paid for the space. I was walking down the street and the guy said, well, what are you trying to do? And I said, I'm trying to do this. He said, we're going to let you have it here for free. I said, for free? I went to the catering and I said, how much are you going to charge me? He said, $500. When it came to the day of my event, he handed me back my money. I went to the 99-cent store to buy balloons and the balloons came up to $110. They said, no, just take them. Our cash registers weren't working. They couldn't take money. They couldn't take nothing. And I started to tell my story and there was a room full of people that I thought knew me and thought that they knew me. And they knew nothing about me. And I remember just telling my story and I'm looking in the audience, I see nothing. I see nobody. And I said, God, just let me tell it. Don't let me become confused. Don't let me become fearful. Just let me tell it. And I begin to tell it. And I look up and I see my dad crying. I see my ex-husband crying. And I see family members crying. I see my best friend crying. And they were just like crying and I was crying. And I said, when I finished, God opened back my eyes and I got to see the faces again. And I said, God, you did this, all of this, so that I can get here. There was people, young people there. I remember there was a young girl there. I don't know how she knew about the gala. I think somebody invited her. But she got there. She had holes in her shoes. She never even told me. Nothing. Months down the line, it was when I was like, I'm giving up. I can't do this. This is not working. God, where are you? Like, this is what I want to do. This is what I went through hell for on earth. I'm done. I remember calling my ex-husband and said, I'm not doing this no more. To heck with Los Angeles Society, to everything. And I open up my email and she said, Miss Simmons, I came to your event with holes in my shoes. She said, I came hungry. I was coming from a shelter. She said, me and my son, she was a teenage mom. She was molested by her father, and now her child was her sibling and her child.
Wow.
And she said, when I got home and opened the gift, my feet were soaking wet. She said, in the box there were shoes. And she said, and I still cry. And she said, because of you, I had a pair of shoes. And I said, wait, God, that's you telling me I can't give up. Mm-hmm. I gotta keep going.
It's purpose.
It's purpose. And I kept going. And till this day, I always plan my events before I have the funding. I always say, this is what I'm gonna do.
Pray and faith.
That's it. Mm-hmm. And when it's time for them, everything is always provided.
The way is already made.
It's already there. It's already done. And till this day, I just say, God, like, if you do nothing else for me, just give it to me so that I can give to somebody else. I gotta pay it forward.
That's it. God, make me a vessel. God, make me a distribution.
Empty me out so that you can fill me all over, and I can fill somebody else.
It.
And how is that? And I say all the time, no matter where I go, I'll tell my story. Mm-hmm. I say, God, I need to end up doing a career where I'm telling my story. I ended up becoming a social worker for the homeless division. Mm-hmm. So I'm able to work with homeless families every day, and I get to squeeze in there like, I'm no better than you. I was you. And it's always today you, tomorrow me. Yeah. God used me, and that's it. Just use me. So I've always been in church my entire life, and I said, no matter what, I'm never going to forget where I come from. Right. And if it wasn't for church, I would have been gone. I would have died. I would have committed suicide. God kept me here. So I said, God, keep me here for somebody else. Use me. Keep filling me up. Never let me go empty, so that I may continue to fill somebody else up. Yes. And that's what I know I'm here for. And I say, everywhere I go, I'm going to take my story, because somebody, if it's just one, somebody's going to be able to listen to my story and not commit suicide.
Speak to the one. The one that's going to see this. What did you say to them?
So to the young people, even to the old people who will see my story and may cry, just don't cry for sorrow. Cry to know that I made it. And if you are out there and if you are going through or have ever gone through and you have a story to tell, I provoke you to tell your story, because your story saves lives. My story has saved so many lives, and if I could do nothing else ever in life, I'll tell my story. So if you have a story to tell it. If you have a book to write it. Don't give up, don't give in. Stay stable, no matter what. You may bend, but don't break. And let me tell you something, God is quiet, but he's not. He hasn't left you, because he didn't leave me, and he's still with me even till today. So don't give up, don't give in. Fight and stay unwaverable, stay unmovable. Never doubt where you're gonna go, because your future, it's great. It's great. There's a better tomorrow.
Amen.
Want to find out more about I Ain't That Chick? Visit our website at www.IAin'tThatChick.com.